Hi, so in this video I'm going to show you how you can generate the content with the help of automation using N8N. So you can see this workflow over here, but before we go deep inside all of these nodes, like how it is working properly over here, let me show you the overall structure we want to work on. So basically there's a website, whatever it is, you can just, for example, have it written over here, roofing and remodeling. And then we do have some main services over here, so 6 main services are there, and we do not need any content for the main services. In our case we need content for the sub services over here. So we do have sub services around 6 to 7 for each main service, and let me show you how we are working on all these things and how you can make your own N8N automation for your content. So yeah, let me show you the output also. So this is a CSV sheet over here where we are getting the business name, main service, sub service also, and these are all the other details. If you want, you can just bring them over here. The H1, H2, body content, and all this content is coming inside our CSV, and each row is having 2500 plus word copy, and we are writing somewhere around 42 plus sub services content. So it is around 105k words, and it is huge, and AI hallucinate a lot, but how to handle that hallucination and all these things, I'm going to show you that in detail over here. So yeah, let's jump back into the workflow over here. So let's start the workflow from here. So this is just the manual trigger where we just turn on the switch, so yeah, something like that. And then we do have an input details over here. Let me click this, and here what we are getting actually. So these are all the inputs which we have to feed into this this node in order to run all this workflow. So this is what we need over here. So we can just put the city name where we are actually providing the service, and you can just put the service name over here, sorry, the city name over here. Then we do need a category over here, roofing and remodeling contractor. Whatever your category is, you can put that over here. This is just for the AI, so it can write the best content according to your services and category. And then these are the main services over here, the 6 main services which I show you over here. So these are the 6 main services. So what we are doing here, so basically we want to give these main services as an input, and then we will generate the sub services, and then we will write the content for the sub services, so something like that. So here I have added all the sub main services over here, and we will feed this input to the next node. I will show you, and where we will write the sub services for each of these main services. Here you can just put the business name. This is just a dummy name. You can just put and replace your business name over here. Whatever the year of experience, you can put that. The serving areas, whatever the nearby cities you serve, or it's just a one city, you can just put that. But if they are multiple, you can separate them with comma over here. So then here is the USP. If you want to add, you can add this USP over here, unique selling point. And then restrictions, like, hey, we only deal in asphalt, shingle roofing, no metal roofing, and all the other stuff. So this is just a simple input over here which we are giving to the AI node. So after giving the input details, that's what we need to give to the AI node in order to generate the subcategories. So here we do have the OpenAI node which will generate the subcategories, these sub blue categories. So we will generate subcategories for each of these main services. So the main task is this, the first task. So over here we do have the subcategories generator. So we are using the messenger model over here, and let me just open this, and here you can just see a prompt over here. So you have to give proper prompts in order to make this flow work properly. And these templates or these prompts are just basically templates, so you can use them for any of the service or any of the content you want to write, mostly for the local SEO content. So here I have written, like, you are a local SEO business expert generating sub services for, this is a business location, category, main service, and share the sub services accordingly. So I have given the inputs over here based on the input details. I have to run this node in order to show you that, but yeah, you can run that from here. Let me show you. So let me run this node just to show you for an example how you will see the inputs, and it's just the same thing for all the other nodes. So basically you can see this is the JSON data coming over here, so we can just drag and drop all these inputs over here. So here we have business location, business category, just drag the one main services in the same way, and here we are just saying like, hey, generate 7 sub services per main service, and each sub service must be specific searchable variation that customers actually look for. So we are writing this content for the local search intent and the local SEO thing, so that's why we are just targeting the local stuff. So we make and write the relevant content, and these are all the details. You can just read them and write your own content based on that. So this is the overall post over here, overall prompt over here, and then I have just said like, hey, output format should be like return only valid JSON array, like, hey, I need main service, because I have to differentiate like, hey, this is the main service and these are the sub services for that main service, so I can categorize my content over here properly and write the content based on the main service and then sub service. We do need to look into all these things in details. So the output should be like, we need the output to of the main service and sub service, and then target audience, content tone, and content focus. Why we are just outputting all these details? Because we do need them to feed that to AI, and it will write the content according to that. So yeah, that's it for this node, and we get subcategories over here once this node is run. And then we are using a JSON. It basically just clean the data, once clean the categories over here, and then divide them properly for the main services, like, hey, this is service 1 and these are the sub services for main service, this is service 2 and these are the sub services for that service 2. So it's basically clean the data over here, nothing special over here. So but yeah, you have to write the code over here, and then this is just a code node. So then what we are doing over here, so once we get all the sub services over here, then we are going to write the headings for them. So in our case we need somewhere around we do have some 4 sections of content inside the copy we want to write for 2500 plus words, so the word count is too high. So the content is divided into basically some 4 to 5 sections over here. You can see this content like SEO and metadata, where we write the site title or page title, the meta description, the alt texts are written over here, and then we do have H2A section, H2B, H2C, and H2D section, and then this is the headings plus input plus service data. So these are all the inputs, and the categories, the headings, and all the inputs generated over here goes over here into this node, because we do need them over here in order to bring them back into CSV. So this is the heading node over here. So basically it writes the heading only, which we feed into the AI nodes over here separately, which further writes the content for each of these headings. This is how we can just avoid the hallucination of the AI tool, and we have just divided all of these things in order to get the perfect results. So this is the heading writer for the sub services, and let me open this also. Like, hey, generate the SEO optimized content for 2500 plus word articles, and we do want you to generate the headings only, maybe 4 subheadings for each sections, and we have some 4 sections, and there will be page title, conclusion heading, and CTA heading. So we do have a lot of headings, maybe 4 into 4, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 plus headings are there basically for each single row of content. So we will be generating 20 plus headings over here. So now you can just imagine like how many headings are there, and their body is also there, so we cannot do them all together. If you will do, then you will see the errors and hallucinations. The content will be just broken, and the instruction will not be followed properly by AI. So you have to just write all these things separately, and then combining them, merging them into one piece of content, and then feeding into the CSV. So over here we have just added the business name, experience serving, and why we have added this again over here, in order to write and generate the best content and maintain the relevancy. Then the article focus is going to be the main service, sub-service, and the target audience, the tone, the focus, content focus, and the primary keyword is also the sub-service, because we don't want the AI to write the content for the main service. We want it to write for the sub-service, and but we do have to tell them like, hey, this is the parent service, so it maintains the relevancy. And then we are putting the heading requirements like, hey, we do need h1, include primary keyword for h1, and these are all the sub instructions, and you can just read them if you want. Now this is the important step over here, like, hey, return only this JSON structure. Why JSON? Because we do need to feed this content, and it is just easy like this. This is also JSON, so you can just drag and drop, and we do need these things for all this complete workflow in order to assign tags and all these things properly. So what we are saying over here, like, hey, I need an h1, and then I do need some h2a main heading, and then I need some 4 h3s, and same goes over here till h2d. Then h3d1, as I told you, we have some 4 main sections for h2, and then inside each h2 we have some 4 h3s, and then we have conclusion heading and CTA heading. So these are all the headings, and we want them in proper JSON format. So once the heading are done, then we do need again the JSON cleaner. Although we told the AI to write the content in JSON, but it will still give you content not in a way you want. So we do need the content to be clean and ready to feed them into the next thing. So here is the JSON for making JSON for heading. So basically it cleans the data of the JSON, so we can feed this as an input to the next node. So what we are doing over here, so once we generated the headings, now based on these headings we can generate the content for our sub-service. But over here you can see so many containers, or whatever you can just call them, like different sections are there, and I've divided this just because to avoid the hallucination, because we are writing 2500 plus words for each sub-service, and there are 42 sub-services. So definitely it's going to hallucinate, and it was so I have to just take this step in order to avoid the hallucination. So basically we are getting this JSON data for headings, and we are feeding this over here. So same goes over here, like, hey, we are writing the content for this is the business name, these are the things, heading structure is this, while this is the phase one where we only need to generate these 6 fields. And why I'm adding all these things which does not make a sense, but the thing is, I don't want the AI to lost the momentum. Like, if I am dividing the content in different sections, so it might lost the previous data, like, hey, what we are actually working on, what are the headings, and what are the main theme and content. So it should not forget that. So we have to tell them like, hey, this is the overall data, and what we want is this: the SEO title, meta description, the slug, 3 old image text. That's it. So here you can see return only valid JSON, and we want the data like this, because we have to feed this again to CSV, so we need them in proper format. So that's it. And same goes for here for H2A section content, and same thing is over here. And all we want, like, hey, return only valid JSON with 4 fields: H3, A1 body, A2, A3, and A4. So something like that. Same goes for H2B, H2C, H2D, and this is the heading plus input plus service data. It just gets all the headings, like from H1, H2A, it just gets all the heading, the conclusion headline, CTA headline, and then all the inputs which we have given to the N8N. So we can just bring them back inside our CSV also, like, hey, this was the target audience, this was the content tone, content focus. So we know, like, hey, this is the content tone and focus, and all these things are here. So this is done over here, and then now it's time to merge them into a single piece of content, because this is all working for a single row of content or single sub-service. and now it's time to merge this content over here. So we have taken the body content merger over here, and basically it's just a merge node. So the mode is append, and the number of inputs is 6. So just connect the inputs, the output of the OpenAI node over here. Just connect this with the input 1, input 2, and it will merge the content and give you one output. But the issue is again same. So we do need the content to be structured properly, because we are not using any loop over here, and so we do need this content to be combined properly at first, like, hey, this is merged, but after merging the content is not coming like a proper in JSON format. So we do have some 6 sections, and they will come like up and down, and post will be just mixed up, and you really don't know like what is going on. So the section 1, the H2S section will be there for the first subservice, and the H2B section will be showing for the second subservice. So the content get mixed. So we have to clean this content by writing some custom code over here again. So this is the custom code over here, which basically gets all the data and then just clean it and properly combine them, like, hey, this is section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, and combine them properly into one piece of content, so we don't mix the content of first subservice to the second subservice. So yeah, 200 plus lines are there, so you have to write this complete code, and then once the data is clean, then we have to just update our CSV, and that's it. So this is the CSV. Here you can just connect your sheet, whatever the business name is. These are the JSON tags over here. You can just drag and drop over here. I have to rerun this again, and if I run this, so the API cost will be there, so I don't want to run this again and again. But you will see all the inputs over here. You can just drag and drop over here and mesh them with the right column over here, and that's it. But over here you can see the workflow is still not done. Once the content is added into CSV, it is still going on next. So what else is left over here? So basically the main issue is, although we have just, let me show you, although we have added all the error executions over here, like, hey, if you go into settings, retry on fail, like if the AI still hallucinates, and although the content is too high, it's 105k words, so the content is too much. So I have added retry on fail. Maximum tries is 3, and the minimum time is 5 seconds in between each try. But still we see some empty columns, and empty column is not an error over here inside N8N. So in order to deal with the empty columns, which you will see somewhere in between your content, not too much, but you might see that, because the content word count is too high, and you will definitely see that. So to get rid of the empty columns and rewrite the content, I have added the Iron Dome over here. Just a funny name, but it basically look for the content inside the CSV and search for the empty columns, like, is there any empty column, so if it is, in which row, and it basically detects the empty rows, and then after detecting it, just feed that back into the OpenAI node over here again. So we can write the missed columns content, and then we are just cleaning the content again over here, and then we are feeding this content back into our CSV. So whatever the rows which were having some empty columns, it just rewrite the content and then feed that back into CSV. So in our case, we see somewhere around one row with some with one of the section having some empty content. So it's just fine. It's not too many rows and too many columns and sections inside each subservice, but it was just a one subservice and only one section content was missing. So it just basically come over here into Iron Dome, and this is the overall code, which basically look for the content and clearly see, like, is there any missing columns or rows, and then it just come back into, so it feeds the data over here into this OpenAI node again, and then this OpenAI node basically writes the content again for the missing rows. But we do have added all the inputs again because we have to add them in order to get the proper output. And yeah, that's it. We have added the H2A section, H2B section, heading, C, D, whatever they are, and then we are saying like, hey, generate the content for the missing content only. So whatever the columns are missing, write the content only for them. So missing columns or sections content is just rewritten over here because the columns are empty. So once the content is done, then we clean the content over here inside this node, and once the content is clean, then it is just feed it back into the CSV. It's the same sheet, it is just the content was first added into it, and then we look for the empty columns, and then we rewrite the whole content, not the whole content, just that single row specific columns content, and then we basically rewrite that row with our new content, which where all the fields are filled. So basically we are using the mapping each column manually, and we are filtering based on the columns. So we want like, hey, look for the subservice named as painting and top touch up. So it will go to that row, subservice row, and then it will look for the empty column. But basically we are just rewriting the whole, because over here we are just saying AI like, hey, write for the missed content, but whatever inputs I'm giving you, also give me all of them as an output, so I can just rewrite the whole row instead of just a particular column to avoid the issues and errors. So we are basically rewriting the whole row, but we are not generating the content which is already there. We only generate the content over here for the missing rows, something like that. And yeah, that's it. This is the complete workflow, and you can just create your own workflow by following this whole process, and you will be able to generate large content copies. It's just not the 700 800 normal copy, it's 2500 plus detailed content. And yeah, that's it. Let me know if you have any question. That's it. Take care. Goodbye.